Greetings. You know, the topic du jour, the topic of the day, of course, is the Trayvon Martin trial. So, we talked about it last week, talked about some of the things that I just thought was kind of like strange in dealing with the trial. But, as the trial is wrapping up and things go on, I feel the need to talk about it again. I mean, it's still must-see TV. And, you can watch the blogosphere, the Twitter sphere, Facebook sphere, whatever sphere, and you see all sorts of posts all over the place talking about what's going to happen, what's not going to happen, so on and so forth. I honestly, I never thought from the beginning that there was going to be a guilty verdict. I've always said that I would be surprised if there was a guilty verdict. That was even before I saw how poor of a case, in my opinion, the prosecution has put forth. And so, the questions that I have, have never been about the case in specific, because the unfortunate reality of the case is that no matter what happens, whether it was a guilty verdict or an innocent verdict, Trayvon Martin is dead, and he's going to be dead. And so while the parents, and God bless them, if the parents, justice is never going to come because George Zimmerman is behind bars. Justice won't come even if George Zimmerman is executed. Justice only comes when Trayvon meets with the Lord and God willing is embraced in the Lord's bosom, and that his parents, God willing, could be reunited with him when they transition from this life to the life to come. And until then, justice will never be served. And beyond that, whether or not George Zimmerman is convicted or innocent does nothing for you, for me. It honestly does nothing to protect my son, your son, from having the similar things happen. And so when people are talking about, there's a lot of focus now about the reactions. Everybody's been talking about, black people gonna riot if and when George Zimmerman is found not guilty. And I guess there's precedent for seeing that. I think it's kind of ridiculous that we're talking about that. But for what it's worth, I've just been thinking about what we as a people can be doing instead to channel our energy, regardless of whether or not George Zimmerman is found guilty or found innocent. Especially though if he's found guilty, that's even more impetus because people's passions will be flaring. It'd be more impetus, more reason to channel those energies into something that would be productive. And so for me, what I would love to see in terms of a response from our people and from any people, from our people being people who love justice, not black people, not white people, brown people, yellow people, red people, whatever people, but people who love justice, people of God. What would be great to see from the people of God would be that we respond regardless of this case outcome, that we respond by, say, for instance, here in Florida where I live, that, all around the state of Florida, we are sitting in at state representatives' offices, their district offices, demanding that they do something about these laws to get them off the books of the state house, that we be sitting in at, the district offices of our Congress people here in the state of Florida, U.S. Congress people and our senators in the state of Florida, and pressuring them to in turn pressure their colleagues in the state house in Tallahassee to change these laws so that these types of things can't happen again. That we be using our energies in productive means to dismantle these laws, that maybe we would find out what the ballot provisions are in the state of Florida to bring something to referendum, and that we would be organizing in different groups and different organizations to make sure that we have petitions out, that we're knocking on doors, that we're getting petitions signed, so that the next election there's an initiative on a referendum on stand your ground type laws, and we can pull them off the books ourselves rather than waiting on politicians to do something. If there were to be a response, I would hope that the people would look to themselves and look to God, that we would find a way, not the answers in the courts, not the answers in politics, and not the answers in violence, but the answers in reasoned responses that use the system in order to benefit change. And so, I just wanted to take a few minutes just to break some bread on this and let you all know some of my reasonings as I'm watching what's going on and hearing all the news preparing us for the violence that's going to come when black people start rioting. But, I would hope that leaders of organizations, people in organizations, in fraternities and sororities, in churches, in civic organizations, whatever groups that you might be in, would begin to organize strategies to engage the political system to pull these laws off the books, whether it be through ballot initiatives or whether it be through, direct civic engagement to force politicians to answer to the people and make these laws to be more just, so that there are no more Trayvon Martin type killings, regardless of what the ruling is. And so people stand up. Let us come together and do something that would be positive, that would be productive, that would honor the memory of Trayvon Martin far beyond simply George Zimmerman going to jail, or George Zimmerman not going to jail. Let us find a way to use this tragic occasion in life-giving, in life-saving ways, that we might glorify God with our service in this world. So, get with your organizations, get with your organizational leaders, find out what the ballot initiative rules are in your locality, in the state of Florida and all the other states where stand your ground type legislation is found, and let us start an effort to repeal these laws ourselves. Let us start an effort to convince and force our politicians to respond to our wishes and have these laws repealed. You have your charge. We have our charge. Let's go.